Hot Springs Village Inside Out is a closer look at the greatness of Hot Springs Village, Arkansas, and the surrounding areas. People, places, experiences. Hot Springs Village is one of the most beautiful places on earth. Join me, Randy Cantrell, and my co-host, Dennis Simpson, as we engage in weekly conversations to explore Hot Springs Village Inside Out. Today's show is brought to you by Central Arkansas's favorite radio station, KVRE. Find them on the dial at 92.9 FM. Stream them live at kvre.com. RE/MAX of Hot Springs Village, the award-winning RE/MAX of Hot Springs Village, is the largest real estate office inside the village with over 30 full-time agents and support staff. Visit them to learn more about this beautiful place to solve your real estate needs. Call them today at 1-800-364-9007 or find them online at explorehsv.com. They are RE/MAX of Hot Springs Village at 1-800-364-9007 or online at explorehsv.com.
On the longest day of the year, we happen to be with Mr. Ken Unger. Now, Ken, as I understand it, I'm just curious, is there a 12-step to pickleball addiction? Is there?
Oh, it's almost immediate. It's almost immediate. Yeah. But if you've ever gotten out on the court within, 30 seconds, you're pretty much going to be stuck doing it. So I'd be very careful if you decide to venture in that realm.
Don't dabble in pickleball is what I'm hearing, right?
Unless you're seriously about, doing nothing but that. Yeah. Because you can do it all day long.
Well, it is a delight to have Ken Unger, one of the newer staff members from the POA. Ken, tell us exactly what position you have today.
I am the Director of Public Services. So that was streets, utilities, dams, lakes, common property. So
water,
sanitation, water, sewer. Yeah. Pretty much anything infrastructure related in the village. My team is one way or another got their fingers in it.
So you're replacing Mr. Jason Temple, who was great outgoing engineer for them. And now but the difference is you've been here in the village a while. Is that correct?
That's correct. Bought a place in 2012. Almost immediately after that, moved here and retired fully back in 2015. End of 2015.
You had a life.
I want to know how you found the village before 2012.
Yeah.
Well, that's a very interesting story because my wife and I originally moved here as part of Verizon coming here with the Alltel purchase, and we moved to West Little Rock, and we had heard about Hot Springs area, and we came out and we looked around, and Hot Springs was nice, but it really didn't ring home for what we were looking for. And then I think it was New Year's Day in 2012, the start of the year, we said, we saw something about Hot Springs Village. We're like, what is this? And we came out and they let us in the gate to, look around at houses. And actually on my birthday, which was February 29th, I don't know if is that a leap year that year?
Yeah, that is a leap year, yeah.
That year was that day was the day we bought our home here in 2012. And we just fell in love with it after we drove through the gate. It was exactly what we were looking for. It's very similar to things that we had in other places we lived, in lake-type communities with rural roads and a lot of trees, and the amenities were just outstanding. And we only really intended to have a weekend place here, but after being here for a little while, we're just like, we're just going to move here. We'll just sell out of West Little Rock, and I'll drive up back to Little Rock every day. And I did that for several years. So.
Now, where was home before you ended up in Little Rock?
Well, we were living in California at the time. I transferred out there to Southern California, was there for exactly 2 years. I worked for Verizon. So I was a director of engineering out there. And then subsequent to that, we lived in the Carolinas. And before that is where we're originally from, was the New Jersey, Philadelphia area. So
all with Verizon?
Yeah. Yep. Spent almost 20 years.
So you and your wife both from East Coast?
Yep. Both. I was born in Philadelphia. She was born in New Jersey, but we met each other in New Jersey, and that's where we settled until I started traveling around the country. So.
You don't miss that weather at any point?
No.
You sure?
They have nice springtime. They have beautiful springtimes there, but I don't miss the snow. I'm much more in tune with the weather here, even though we're in a little bit of a hot spell. I'll take that any day. So
I heard a comedian the other day say, talking about the winter up north, she said, it sounds like a Stockholm syndrome thing, but it's so good to us in the summer. It's good for us for those 3 months. It's really nice to us, that
it really makes you appreciate the spring and summer. That's that. I'll say that. That's what it's good for.
Well, let's go. I want to go back into, we're going to go the professional side and the personal side, but how did you even get into pickleball? Did you ever have a pickleball racket in your hand before you came to the village?
No, and it's one of the interesting things about the sport is, I was a tennis player in high school. I was pretty good table tennis player. And pickleball is one of those sports that you can adapt pretty much any type of racket sport that you've ever played into it. It's just, I don't know why, but I actually play it very differently than some players. And if you play somebody that has played racquetball, they'll play it differently than somebody that's played tennis. And then there's people that have never played a racket sport at all that come to it with a totally different approach as well. So it's really one of the most unique sports I've ever gotten involved with, which is, I guess, why it's so appealing. It's one of the, I believe it's still the fastest growing sport in the country, if not the world. I mean, it's just popping up everywhere. So, but
I don't even know when pickleball started in the village. Dennis, do you?
Well, we got a pickleball
Maybe
court
Ken knows.
8 years ago, 7 years ago.
Yeah, I mean, it was, I started playing actually at the Village Church of Christ indoors. Before they had courts set up inside of their gyms is where I really started playing. I mean, they had some courts outdoors, but they have open play there. They have begin newcomers type. And it sounds like an advertisement for them, but they really do advocate for pickleball over there. And now Balboa, I think Baptist has the indoor gymnasium where people play pickleball in there as well. So it's everywhere. I mean, in addition to the 14 outdoor courts that we have now. So.
And how quickly were you smitten by this?
Like I said, I mean, once I started playing, it was, I mean, prior to my senior Olympic adventures, I was playing 5 hours a day. I mean,
did you say prior to your senior Olympic? Did I hear? I think I heard that in there, right?
Yeah.
Did I throw that in there? Oh, yeah.
I didn't hear that. I
mean, literally, I would play pickleball till I dropped. I mean, that's
Now, are you an obsessive compulsive kind of a guy, or?
I don't know what would make you say that.
Exactly.
As he wraps his knees.
Let's just say when I put my mind to something, I like to seek the total fulfillment of it and to learn as much as I can and to get the most out of it that I can. So
you don't dabble in anything, is what I'm hearing.
Well, I have, but generally it's one thing at a time because
I think in Arkansas we call that whole hog.
Whole hog.
There you go.
That's awesome. That is awesome.
That is incredible. So what led, how did you come to the position? Obviously you have an engineering background, and we're skipping over things. And by the way, listeners, you're learning as we're learning, by the way. But you obviously have an engineering background, and I'm assuming you just applied for this position when it came available here in the village, or what?
Yeah, I like to say that all things happen for a reason, and throughout my career, a lot of the positions I've had and things that I've done have always built on my past, so it'll be like, well, I've done that. And, and that's how I got into building buildings for Verizon and then running networks and stuff for them. It just was an accumulation of experience that I had. So, it got to a point where, like I said, through COVID and having accomplished my goals in pickleball, that, I started getting more involved in seeing, what was happening in the village in relation to things that I'm used to dealing with, and when you're a civil engineer, it's just habit. You're looking at roads, you're looking at parking lots, you're looking at storm sewer things, and you're just lamenting to yourself whether or not it's right or what you can do better. And in that vein, I started getting involved in various committees that the village had going back to last summer, and mainly the public service committee, but I also was involved in the finance and planning, listening to what was going on there. But pretty much was sitting in most of the public service meetings and just listening to what was going on. And then, as things progressed, and then, it's an interesting story about Kelly, because I actually met him before he was labeled GM by accident. Just builder, I had a home built by Renaissance, and he had sent me over to this house that was having blown-in insulation done, and said, hey, I'm going to do this on yours, go over and look at it. And I went over there, and there's this guy mulling around outside, looking at the house. And he asked me who I was, and I told him, and I said, "Who are you?" He goes, "Well, I'm Kelly Hale. You know, I'm having my house built here." And I was like, "Oh, that's interesting." And so then when I had heard that he got the GM job, I was like, well, you know, I liked what I saw when I talked with him. We had very similar backgrounds and approaches to things. And I said, you know, if you're going to get involved, this is the way to do it, is, you know, bring my expertise and hopefully the things I can do to help the staff and help the villagers to a role that, you know, really has an impact. And yeah, when the job opened up, I put my name in and, you know, went through the interview process, and I guess Kelly thought I was the right person for the job. So here I am.
Pulled you out of retirement. So you've been retired. You were retired 7 years, you said?
Yeah, I think roughly. I retired at the end of 2015. So I think that's kind of close to 7 years, something like that.
You know, I'm amazed as a guy that fell in love. I told you before we hit record, and the audience knows my backstory. And if you don't, well, too bad. There's plenty of episodes. You can go find that out. You know, I'm amazed at the talent inside the place. You know, as a guy that has frequented the place through Airbnb, it's just amazing, from host to neighbors of hosts, and the background and the expertise, and it's pretty fascinating to me. And from big corporate like you and Kelly to smaller but super significant stuff. I mean, the talent pool is truly amazing. I mean, you're a poster child for, well, you and Kelly both. You know.
Yeah. Well, and you're absolutely right. I mean, if you look across the committees that we have, I mean, we have some really, really talented people involved in the committee that are volunteering their time 100%, right? I mean, you know, you can't ask for more than that, to have talented people that are in your community, but then also willing to volunteer to help make it a better place. And that's part of my goal, is to make sure that we're leveraging that and that we're engaging these people. And you know, rather than having people, you know, writing stuff and questioning things, get them involved. You know, that's, you know, my view is, if you want to comment about something, come on out to the to the public service committee, come on out to the lakes committee, come out to the common property committee. You know, we need all the help we can get. And we're only going to solve this if we have everybody engaged that has the expertise. And like you said, I mean, we got, you know, I was just thinking about common property. We got forestry people, one active that lives in the community, and yeah, and then another one that's on the committee. And then apparently, you know, based on some things we're talking about, we got other forestry people in the community. So I'm like, let's get them engaged, because, you know, the more minds we have involved in this that have the expertise, the better result and outcome we're going to have. So,
well, Randy and I started early on trying to interview people with the POA simply for one reason. If you look on social media, it's easy to throw stones and say, well, those stinking POA people, they're blah, 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 blah. Whoa, whoa, whoa. Be quiet. Just meet these people. These are you're the great example. Kelly's a great example. I can go through the list. Unfortunately, Brad has left, but he was fantastic. Todd Knowles, Terry Wiley. I can go through a list of people who are incredibly talented and super devoted, and you don't even know them, and you're throwing stones at them. Learn to these people, and you won't throw stones, is our opinion. We've always come that way.
Yeah, and I don't even know necessarily at this point, you know, when I look out there as throwing stones, I think it's people that, you know, have experience, that they're putting their opinions out there, and maybe their opinions are different than some of the opinions of myself or the other experts that are involved in it. And that's going to happen. That's part of the process. You know, I mean, I operate under constructive dissent theory, that, you know, you bring your ideas to the table, and then as a group, you come up with a plan, and then everybody buys into that unless it's not working, and then you shift gears. So I think, you know, in the past, maybe the issue is that people weren't heard, maybe, or they weren't invited to be involved in the process. And, you know, you don't want to alienate intelligent people that want to get involved. So, I mean, you know, my view is, if you have expertise, you see something you don't like, you want to weigh in, more power to you. Come on over. My door is always open. You've been
in the position now how long?
About a month and a half.
Okay, so coming in,
close to 2 months.
Coming in, the biggest opportunity you felt like you had, and now that you're however many days in, now what's the reality?
Well, I mean, I'll tell you what this is part of what I did when I did my interview. I'll tell you what I did. So I usually come into organizations, especially Verizon. I did this with what I call a 90-day plan. Okay. And that plan involves, you know, looking at the organization, looking at efficiencies, looking at gaps, looking at where the risks are, And then, hopefully putting things in place to address those. And I'll give you a perfect example of how that played out on my first week, actually, because my first day on the job, Brad handed me his resignation. He had taken a position up in Little Rock, and I, said, more power to you. But that instantly put me in a position of having to evaluate the organization relative to lakes. And when I looked across the organization, what occurred to me was that there were gaps in basically how we were approaching things because of the way the organization was fractured. So we had a common properties and organization, forestry, that, when you look at a problem like soil erosion, for example, that's filling our lakes, okay? It starts on the ground, but it ends up in our lakes. And because they were two separate teams, basically, they weren't necessarily coordinating against any of that effort. So by combining them into one organization, now you have the people that are involved in erosion control and where the erosion is coming from, working with the people where it's going to. And the same can be said for the geese situation, where we have geese that are, they don't discriminate between land and water. They're on both. And, we had my understanding was before COVID, we had a very strong, geese control effort. But it kind of fell apart. And to this year, there were only two people that were really identifying nests and doing what was needed on the eggs to stop the geese population. Well, that group was in common properties. Well, lakes has probably the best visibility in a lot of cases to identifying where geese nests are. And there's other organizations like even golf where they're going to find it. So, we need to, do a better effort at synergizing between those groups. And that gave me the opportunity to do that day one by moving lakes under Todd. And also because there was no way I was backfilling Brad immediately. I needed somebody to immediately start transferring knowledge from Brad to, my organization. So that's an example of what I did. And I did that again, subsequent to that with our building and electrical group. And I can go into that with you if you want to know the synergies that we identified there. But
yeah, dude, go ahead.
Please.
Well, in that case, you had an organization that was responsible for major pump stations and grinder pumps at people's homes. Okay. And then you had another organization that was responsible for the lines that came out of those things. Okay. So,
when you phrase it that way, it doesn't sound very smart. Until that very moment, I went, oh, well.
Yeah, it's not efficient, right? So, if a resident had a problem with the grinder system coming out of their home, basically a group from the grinder organization would go out there and look at it. And if it was a line issue, then they'd have to call up somebody in the line organization to come out and unclog the line, right? So, by combining that part of the organization with the grinder tank part of the building and electrical group with the line group, now you have one team that goes out to someone's house. You got a line person, you got a grinder tank person, and the problem's solved the first time they go out to the homeowner's home. And, so we're more efficient and we get things fixed faster, which is basically what everybody wants. They want it because they don't want to have multiple teams going out. Customer wants it because they want their grinder tank and line, whatever the problem is, fixed. And we have a similar problem with the pump stations. Those pump stations that pump to the wastewater treatment plants, it's more effective to have that organization working as a team to solve the problems of sewage that we have, whether it's odor control or other things that are seeing it from both sides. And I think we've already seen some of those efficiencies play in. And effectively, we've eliminated 2 superintendent positions as part of that. So we also are saving money as far as expense. So.
Ken, question. Mm-hmm. So new CFO and you, Kelly, really experienced, diverse backgrounds, love for the villagers, the maturity and the experience. This is not to castigate, not to cast stones on what happened before. That was then, this is now. Mm-hmm. But as a person observing this, and, I just turned 65 a month ago, so I'm in the demographic. And I'm not hawking our demographic. Mm-hmm. It's going to sound like I am, and maybe I kind of sort of am. But the experience and in soft skills and in hard skills, and the diversity of experience, as well as just the insight and the wisdom. Well, I'll just speak for myself. I don't know that I've ever been better. You know, I mean, I've never been 65, but I've also never had a lifetime of experience to call upon. And the urge that I'm having, that it sounds to me like you're having, to contribute and to pass it on, because we're at this age where legacy matters, purpose matters, intentions and all that matters. In this current team that Kelly is putting together and has put together so far, I'm curious what your perspectives are on how that all plays a part in all of this.
I mean, you know, for the record, I'm 58. You know, I think
you don't look a day over 57.
Not at all. Not at all.
But I think there's some of that involved in this. I mean, you know, I think the most important thing that I view out of it is we live here, you know, so we have a vested interest in making sure that what we're doing is in the best interest of the community. You know, like I said, I just built a brand new house. So, I mean, I'm not going anywhere for the foreseeable future. I mean, I plan to live, I mean, it's really my last house. You know, it's one story. It's set up to, you know, basically be able to retire in place there. So, you know, I think, at least in the discussions I've had with, you know, Kelly, you know, it's about making sure that, you know, we're putting the village on the right track for sustainability for the rest of our lives, if not the rest of the village's life. And each of us believes we have the backgrounds and talent to, if not do it, or, you know, provide guidance to find people that can help us, whether it's residents or, you know, professionals, to make sure that, you know, again, 50 years from now, when we hold our 100-year anniversary, that we're in a much, much better, different state than we may be today. So that's kind of how I view it. And like I said, I mean, I do think you have some valid points there. As you get into retirement, you know, you're looking for something to, you know, whether it's sink your teeth into or make sure you're giving back. And that really is part of it for me. I mean, I'm you know, giving back, even though I'm paid, you know, I'm giving back to the community, and hopefully my experience and hopefully making things better. You know, that's my goal.
What's the biggest?
We're not all going to be senior Olympic professional, you know, ball players. So, you know, we can't aspire to that all the time. But no,
well, you know what that was. Exactly. You know what that was, right?
Yeah,
that was one. I was one of those people that always wanted to be a professional athlete, but because I had a bad knee, there was just no calling in professional basketball or baseball for somebody with only one good knee. So, you know, I had to, when I retired, to try to see what level I could get to in some level of some sport.
So for the non-pickleball players, like my hands in the air. Okay, so it's not hard on the knees.
It's a little hard, but it's much easier than tennis. Okay. And it's, you know, but I mean, there's some, you know, wear and tear that it takes on your body, but it's definitely not something that I couldn't handle, which definitely tennis.
And how quickly did you begin to travel to play tournament play, I assume?
Yeah, I mean, I started playing when I first moved, you know, bought a place here. So it wasn't until I retired that I started traveling, but that was pretty quickly afterwards, you know, so.
And describe that. So what describe this travel stuff. So how far away and what does that look like?
Well, I mean, I've pretty much stayed in the, you know, South for the most part. My longest trip was probably to New Mexico for the National Senior Olympics. But I played in Missouri, I played in Oklahoma, I played in Texas, I played in Tennessee.
Did you know you were good? Did you know you were good like right away?
No, I mean, you know, one of the reasons I went to tournaments was basically to learn. You know, I mean, I think you know, when you play in an environment like the Village, you get to know all the players. You get to, you know, if you really want to learn, you have to venture outside your circle.
It's a polite way of saying you needed more competition.
Well, no, just seeing different. No, not at all. I mean, you know, a lot of the tournaments you play in, you see the same people actually. But you only see them in tournaments if they're coming from other states. So
you did it for the prize money.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
Now, what
But there's
point?
people here in the village that will go all over the country to play.
Really?
Oh yeah. Oh yeah. Yeah. They go to California. I mean, the U.S. Open in pickleball is out there. The Senior Olympics this year was actually in Florida, and I know of several people that went there and played in the Senior Olympics this year out there. So you can pretty much go anywhere you want. I know people that have gone actually to like the Caribbean and played there at events they've held out there. So, you can pretty much go anywhere in the world right now and play pickleball.
Proof positive that you can find out a lot by just asking questions, huh, Dennis?
Exactly. Yeah. Who knew? Who knew? And we were just
in the state of Arkansas, are you just another number? Or you?
Yeah, I'm just another number.
Okay.
Yeah.
Really?
Oh, that disappoints me, but
yeah, I'm sorry to say. But
okay, well, it's been nice talking to you, Ken. We've got to go to the next interview now.
Whether I was good or not, it doesn't really matter. It's really about exercise and enjoying the people you're playing with. It's just a lot of fun. It really is. I mean, it's a great sport to be involved in.
So the Senior Olympic thing in New Mexico, describe that experience.
Well, that was really interesting. If you've never, you basically are going into a town, and I forget the exact number, but it was anywhere from between 13 and 15,000 athletes participating in every sport that you can imagine, where it came to New Mexico, Albuquerque, and descended upon Albuquerque. So it's quite a experience. Just anywhere you go, you're running into Olympians that are participating in some level of sport, and it's just the whole atmosphere is kind of electric. And the interesting thing about out there, which I actually kind of was training for, was that it's a higher altitude. Mm-hmm. So you kind of have to condition yourself to be able to go. Because I literally, the day I played in men's doubles, we went from like 7 or 8 in the morning and we didn't finish till 7 at night. That was the last match I played. So it was a long, grueling day at higher altitudes, and it's so dry that you don't even know you're getting dehydrated. So it was an experience though, but it was a lot of fun.
Now, how often do they hold this event, the Senior Olympics?
I think it's every 2 to 4 years. I know the state, I think this every other year in the state level, and then every year after that they have the Senior Olympics. So. And
how did you do?
Well, I got silver in the men's doubles, didn't place in the mixed doubles. So in New Mexico.
That's awesome.
Yeah, it was awesome. I had a great partner. We got along really well. I had never even played with him before. I knew him, but we had never really played a tournament before. And
how did y'all connect?
Well, I had met him at some tournaments that I had been playing at, and he was just a really good guy. And, I knew I was going to go to the Senior Olympics, and, you kind of find a partner to play with. And I asked him if he was interested. He said, yeah. And that was history.
Y'all won silver.
We got silver. Yeah.
That's awesome.
And we got legitimately beat twice by the same team. So they won gold. I'll tell you.
Legitimately, you can't even blame it on bad refereeing. You can't say you can't pull the McEnroe. You can't pull the McEnroe.
Nope, awesome. I can't. But it was a lot of fun. And again, I highly recommend pickleball to anybody that's looking to get into shape, have some fun, meet some great people. We have a great organization in the village. I mean, I think there's well over 300 people that are involved in pickleball here already.
Well, and after this show, there's no telling.
Yeah. You go. We could be blowing it up, huh?
We expect it to absolutely blow up. All right.
Unger at hsvpoa.org. Unger at hsvpoa.org. Send your emails and letters.
Yeah, that's right. I've given my number and email address to anybody that's documenting what we're doing here. I encourage people to reach out to me and give me your opinions and let me know how I can help you.
Well, and to focus on the positive and on the solution. So the people that are in the village, and now our audience they're all over. We regularly hear from people that have never set foot in the state of Arkansas, much less Hot Springs Village, and a few who are now villagers. A few houses have been sold thanks to the podcast, and we're pleased about that. So, but for people with a vested interest in the village, what can we do? Yes, we can volunteer and we can be on committees and whatnot, but I mean, are there things that now that you're a tenured guy of a couple of months on the job, I mean, what's your perspective now of things that where the needle can absolutely be moved if people would do X?
I mean, I'll give you some examples of things we've done that I think are outstanding already. I mean, one is the volunteerism. I mean, that is key to our success, especially if you have an expertise where we have a challenge, you know, we need to get you involved. But I'll give you a small thing that, you know, I don't think most residents may be aware of. So I had a resident, I already asked him if I could do this. I put his picture in the paper, Jim Betts, who donated a generator to, you know, his POA. Because in effect, we are we are the villagers organization. I mean, we work for the villagers, right? And he donated a generator to us, which, you know, we need. I mean, we have a lot of old stuff here, trying to keep the network and everything running. And, you know, I took that donation and I put something in the Village Digest, recognizing him and saying, hey, if you have other things that you're throwing out, want to get rid of, please let us know. And we would be more than happy to come pick them up, because more than likely what you're getting rid of is better than what we've been using here for the last 20 years. Because a lot of the stuff that's in our facilities here is really, really old. And we got an outpouring of donations. And I can't tell you how much that helps this organization be successful and helps us avoid having to spend money on things that are overpriced today because of inflation, and be more productive, which at the end of the day comes back to the residents and the owners of the POA. So that just happened my first month, you know, just from one little article in the Village Digest. So that's the kind of stuff I think people, you know, hopefully they see and you know, they help contribute to. And I'm not asking for more donations, but I'm just saying that's the type of thing that I don't even think people maybe even recognize. But the reality is, you know, a lot of the stuff in the POA is old because they've been putting money into whatever they have to keep things working.
And if people want to do that, Ken, what's the best way for them to reach out? Who should they contact?
Yeah, I mean, they can send me an email. I've had plenty of people send me an email with things that they, you know, want to get rid of and need to get rid of, and or they can, you know, so they can send me an email, or they can call in the main desk, for my public services organization, and we'll get somebody on it. So that's one way. And I think the other is just understanding that it's going to take time. You know, you don't change a huge ship overnight. We're making a lot of good progress in a lot of areas because of the help of the residents. Again, with the increase in the fees, it's going to help us get things done that weren't getting done before. But all those things take time, you know, to get processes in place, to get the machine rolling, to produce. And it'll happen hopefully faster than most people expect, but some people, you know, obviously have higher expectations. So the ask is kind of be patient. Give us a chance.
Is your team full strength, or do you have gaps that you need filled?
I mean, there's always opportunities. That's part of my 90-day plan, is analyzing where the gaps are and working to fill them. But I would say for the most part, we're in pretty good shape. You know, we had a few openings that we filled recently, and getting those people up to speed. And I think we're going to see some. I mean, I think personally, just in the 2 months I've been here, I mean, I've gotten emails from some people that things hadn't been addressed in 15 years that we took care of in, you know, 15 minutes. And they were really happy. And that's part of my goal. You know, my last role at Verizon was basically a customer service type position. It was performance, but, you know, you're dealing with customers' concerns when the network's not working right. And, you know, I mean, I think customers have a right to expect that some of their requests are addressed. And, you know, we're trying to balance that with the bigger picture things that we have to get done. And that's hopefully a positive that I think residents will see in the weeks and months ahead. So
that's awesome, Dennis.
That is, it really is. And Ken, I'm trying to think of how to word this. You've been here long enough, and I think I have too, that around 2010, we got the President's Award for 1,000 Points of Light. Mm-hmm. And one of the reasons that we got that is because there's a huge sense of volunteerism. Mm-hmm. And I think part of where we may have previously gone off the rails is when we would have experts come in and they were going to fix it for us. But I mean, literally, you, Kelly, a whole slew of other people, you're not being dropped in. You live here. This is your basis. And you see an upswelling of people who are like, okay, well, I'll come help. I volunteer. I pick me. At Verizon, I'm pretty sure there weren't a whole bunch of your customers that said, let's come help you pick up trash in your parking lot. They didn't offer that, I suspect, right?
Yeah.
So to have that spirit of volunteerism, I know is refreshing, I assume.
It's huge. I mean, like I said, I think it's the key to our success. You know, I mean, there's a lot of towns and communities, you don't have that. And, you know, they probably suffer as a result of that. And if we're not leveraging that, if we're discouraging that, that's a huge mistake. Huge mistake in my mind.
I agree
You know,
wholeheartedly.
like you said, it's not just volunteerism. These are people that have experience that would cost us an arm and a leg to get if we had to go outside the village to get. So, you know.
Yeah. Fortune 100 and Fortune 500 people we see many times, right?
Yeah. I mean, forget about just specifics on a certain topic. We got leaders. We got great leaders. I mean, generals. Can tell me how many multi-star generals we have in our community that you know, it's great to get their leadership input on things, and we have some of those, frankly, on some of the committees, and that's good stuff. So,
well, I know you may not know this about us, but Randy and I do some hard hitting stuff, and like the generals you're talking about, you know, the question is, do they like pizza or do they like tacos? Randy, what are you thinking?
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. This is quick and painless. Well, it may not be quick. It will be painless, and hopefully.
And just to introduce real quick, this is the lightning round. We always ask a few questions, and Ken, for what it's worth, I want to make sure and get this. We wanted to do an introductory segment and just kind of learn how you are. At any time, we'd love to call you back when you've got a special meeting or you've got a special push. We'd love to have you on the show anytime. Would you be able to do that?
Oh, you bet. Absolutely. I think the more we talk about what we're doing, the better off we'll be as a community. So,
yeah.
Well, I may have to add pickleball to this first question, but it's not on there, and I'm not going to ask it because I already know that would be the answer. So hiking, hunting, fishing, or golfing?
Hiking.
Hamburger, tacos, or pizza?
Tacos.
Beaches or woods?
Woods.
Texting or talking?
Talking.
Favorite day of the week?
Oh, Sunday.
Favorite city in the U.S. besides Hot Springs Village?
Oh, I would have to say Charleston, South Carolina.
Was that home at one point?
No, but I spent a lot of weekends outside of there, and I love the history of there, and the food is really good. It's beautiful. Yeah, a lot of history there to learn. Architecture.
You have a nickname?
No, you'd have to ask somebody else that. I don't. Not that I'm aware of, but I'm sure there's people that have nicknames for me.
Yeah, we're not talking. We never talk about those. Yeah. All right. Currently, are you listening to somebody that's a favorite band or musician? And if so, who?
I can honestly say I'm not.
Do you have a favorite band? Do you have a favorite musician? Are you a music guy at all?
A little bit. I'm easygoing type of James Taylor type of guy.
Okay.
You know, kind of laid back.
Nothing wrong with that.
Low key type music. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, I don't know. Your personality, you don't need to be a metalhead. If you're obsessive compulsive, you do not need to go hardcore metal. All right. You've got an hour, Ken, to do nothing. What are you going to do?
What am I going to do? That's an interesting. An hour to do nothing. I will probably read about something. Is probably what I do. Read about some topic that I'm, need to learn more about. I do a lot of that at home. Any
current favorite topics that you're pursuing?
Well, probably recycling, trash disposal, beavers, beetles. I'm reading a whole array of different things. No, serious. I mean, it's funny, but these are the challenges that we face in the village, and I'm doing a lot of research, reading of information people are providing me, and that's kind of what I'm doing at night. Yeah.
Favorite holiday?
Probably Christmas.
First job?
Wow. I was a cook at a restaurant where I met my wife almost 42 years ago.
What kind of food was this?
It was an ice cream parlor where we made hamburgers and other things, so it wasn't hot gourmet. I mean, some people thought my cooking was gourmet, but it was really,
Okay. Love it first bite or love it first sight or?
Love it first Sunday. Yeah, it was love it first Sunday.
There you go. That's awesome. Okay. You said you've been married 40, how many?
Well, it'll be 40 years, but we knew each other for a couple of years before we got married. So
That's awesome. That's awesome.
Yeah.
Congrats. All right. Describe your favorite meal.
Probably lasagna. I mean, I know I said tacos for the choice.
Yeah, that's all right.
Tacos. That was a tough choice because I like pizza too. But
Yeah. Well, I didn't give you lasagna as a choice in that one, though. Okay.
No, you didn't.
And the lasagna would be from where?
My wife's lasagna. Yeah.
Oh, there you go.
She just made it for me for Father's Day, and I've been enjoying it. So,
What's your address again?
Yeah.
I'm not telling you.
Yeah. Yeah. Exactly. All right.
West Little Rock.
Funniest movie.
Funniest movie. Wow. I probably, the one that jumps out at me is MASH. I like MASH. It wasn't really, I wouldn't know if it was considered funny, but, kind of that type of humor was.
Yeah. We can appreciate that. Favorite sports team.
Favorite sports team. That's an interesting one. I don't necessarily watch team sports that much, but I used to be a favorite of the Patriots because I like Tom Brady. So I would have to say Tampa Bay Buccaneers.
There you go. All right. Well, then let's shift it. So your favorite athlete
would probably be Tom Brady. Just because of his endurance and longevity, his ability to.
I figured you might pick somebody playing an individual sport.
Well, I could have easily done that, but I think somebody that takes the punishment that a quarterback takes, that has endured as long as him, deserves my admiration.
Well, what's your favorite sport? What's your favorite sport to watch?
Actually, it's probably golf to watch. Okay. Yeah.
All right.
Yeah, I like watching golf just because it's so impossible to play.
Well, here in Dallas, I won't ask you to opine about it, but the whole live thing versus the PGA, it's just it's all we're hearing. So, okay, dogs or cats?
Probably dogs. I'm not a big animal. We don't have animals myself, but
you're busy reading about beavers and geese and things that are destroying the village. So
natural. I'm really like natural animals.
Yeah. All right, cake or pie?
Pie.
What kind?
Apple.
How many hours of sleep do you get a night?
Well, generally probably about 5 or 6.
Yeah.
So a lot of people, I have to queue my emails when I get up, and then I don't send them out until later because I'm usually in bed between 8 and 9, and I'm up about 3, 4.
He's got your schedule, Randy.
Yeah, I can relate. I tell people I keep vampire hours. All right.
Yeah, you can't send emails to people that time. You can't queue emails up at that point.
I do. I don't text people, but
okay.
Well, the people that know me, they know if they get an email at 3:00, they know.
Sometimes I do my best work at 3 in the morning.
Yeah, I do too.
Yeah.
All right. Do you have a favorite article of clothing?
Favorite article of clothing? I don't really think I do, to be honest with you. Maybe my shoes. I like some of the shoes I have. That's about it. They're comfortable. That's all.
Favorite quote, and we're done.
Favorite quote. Well, if you give me a second, I'll
give you a second. Go ahead.
Well, I'll tell you what, while he's doing that, Randy, I've got to tell you, you saw our pictures Sunday when we drove up through Danville Road and we were petting the donkeys and, feeding the donkeys and everything. On the way up there, we turned around because there were 2 beavers on the side of the road, 2 little beavers playing, little infant beavers playing right beside the road. I'm like, what? Turned around and went back. Diane said, that's what I said. Those are beavers. There they are.
All right, let's hear the quote.
We have work because our customers trust us to do the right thing.
Repeat that.
I don't know if that's considered a quote.
No, go ahead. Repeat it again.
Say it again.
We have work because our customers trust us to do the right thing. It's one of 4 quotes that I actually try to instill in what we're doing here in my organization. It's called our credo. So I figured I'd at least get that out there. So
I'm glad you did. Okay, so that thing that is in your hand, what is that? Is that the department credo?
That's credo we're trying to instill in the department, and I'll read you the headlines because I think it's important.
Yep.
I won't read you all the text in it, but we focus outward on the customer, not inward. We know teamwork enables us to serve our customers better and faster, and we believe integrity is at the core of who we are.
I like it.
Those are
You're
the
not
4
going to find any argument with us in any direction.
No. Okay, I got to sneak in something really quick, Ken.
Oh, you said that was the end.
No, I lied.
Okay. All right, go ahead.
Okay. A leader, a mentor who had a really, now that you're looking with some history background, a leader, a mentor that really had a profound impact on you. Anybody leap to your mind?
Yeah, I mean, there's been several people in my career that, that I've tried to model myself after how their leadership skills were and what it meant to be a leader to them as far as advocating for their people and working to develop their people. And, I had a guy named Hans Lutnegger, who was my executive director at Verizon when I first started and wound up being my vice president before I retired. And he was probably the one that had the most impact on me. And, he kind of taught me there that, we all have jobs to do. I mean, whether you're the CEO or you're the person that's coming in delivering the mail, I mean, everybody's job is critical to what you do. And, everybody deserves the same level of respect and to be listened to. And that's what I've kind of tried to model myself after through my whole career, basically. But he kind of stands out at me as the guy I looked up to the most. So
good. Thanks for sharing that. All right, Dennis, I'll let you say goodnight.
Well, I was going to say that's just wonderful, Ken. And part of it is for the listeners and the watchers, be that guy. Everybody needs a mentor. Somebody needs them. Randy and I were talking before we hit the record button about some people that we were encouraging. And I look back and remember the people that encouraged me. They didn't have to. They didn't know that to me, but it made a huge difference in my life. And as Randy talks about the legacy of your life, man, do that. Look around you at the people that you can help influence and just cheer them on. It doesn't cost you a thing.
Nope. And you'd be amazed at how it cascades. If you look back on the career, like in my career, people that worked for me that became, executive directors of Verizon or vice presidents and literally helped other people, improve in their lives and careers. And I mean, it does have a cascading effect. You may not realize it or think it, but the more people you can help, the bigger that spreads around the world, basically.
Wow. Well, our thanks to Ken Unger for being with us today. Ken, I promise you, we'll be bugging you again soon. So for Hot Springs Village Inside Out, I'm Dennis Simpson. He's Randy Cantrell, and we will see you next time.
Thanks for listening to another episode of Hot Springs Village Inside Out, a podcast where Hot Springs Village, Arkansas is the star. Please subscribe to the podcast. You can do that by visiting our website, hsvinsideout.com, and tell a friend.